I will note that it is 3:02, and I will call to order this November 10, 2020 meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Greater Dayton Regional Transit Authority. Due to circumstances related to the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting is being conducted remotely by teleconference in accordance with HB 197 and the guidelines set forth by the Ohio Department of Health. I would ask all participants to please leave your microphones on mute unless and until you are called upon to speak, at which time please remember to unmute. Continuing with our remote meeting tradition, I will ask that all persons remain on mute, except that I will ask one person to recite the pledge, and today I call upon Board Member Tom Weckeser to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thanks for that heads up. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Just trying to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Will the Secretary please call the roll of board members?
Yes, sir. Mr. Williamson?
Present.
Mr. Lumpkin?
Sorry, present. I was on mute.
Absolutely. Mr. Corrado?
Present.
Ms. Hairston?
Present.
Ms. Hurd? Ms. Howard? Ms. Matthew Stenson? And Mr. Weckeser?
Here.
The roll having been called, I will declare that a quorum is present for today's meeting. The bylaws of the Greater Dayton Regional Transit Authority require approval by the Board of Trustees of each board meeting, of the agenda of each board meeting. Prior to today's meeting, a copy of today's agenda was presented for review to all board members. Do any board members have any requested changes or corrections to the agenda? And before I get any responses, I will note for the minutes that there are two changes. In Miss Belinda Matthews Stenson's absence, I will deliver the report of the Finance and Personnel Committee. And in Miss Howard's absence, John Lumpkin will deliver the report of the Finance and Personnel Committee. And in Ms. Howard's absence, I will deliver the report of the Planning Committee. Sorry about that mix-up. Are there any other changes or corrections to the agenda? Hearing none, the chair will declare the agenda accepted as presented, except for those two corrections.
I guess we have, oh no, it's on there, never mind. I guess the new business, both of them are there.
Correct.
I would think,
correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Also, prior to today's meeting, the minutes of both the October 6, 2020 board meeting and October 2020 special board meeting were presented to review to all board members. Does any board member request a reading of the minutes or suggest any corrections or additions to the minutes of those two meetings as presented? Hearing none, the chair will declare the minutes of the October 6 regular board meeting and the October 20 special board meeting approved as presented. And now on to committee reports. Finance Personnel Committee. Pinch hitting for Ms. Matthew Stenson, Mr. Lumpkin.
Thank you, sir. The Finance and Personnel and Planning Committees held a teleconference meeting on October 20th. And as a result, the committee is recommending 5 action items for the board's consideration. These action items are essential to the delivery of transportation services to the public. Action item number 2, occupational medical services provider. The purpose of this procurement is to select and certify a medical facility to provide services for Department of Transportation physicals, pre-employment physicals, drug and alcohol testing, and return to work physicals, and other related physicals and testing for the Greater Dayton RTA. This procurement demonstrates the core values of stewardship by ensuring that our employees are fit for duty at all times. Mr. Bob Stevens provided a detailed explanation for the committee at the committee meetings, and the supporting information is included in today's board package. Bob's available to answer any questions the board may have at this time. Hearing none, based upon the recommendations of the committee, I move that the Board of Trustees approve a contract award to Occupational Health Centers of Ohio, TA Company, DBA, Concentra Medical Centers for occupational medical services provider for 3 years at an estimated total of $337,967, plus 2 one-year options at the estimated total of $241,864, for an estimated grand total of $579,831. The actual dollar amount will vary based on usage. The occupational medical services provider will be paid with operating funds.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Second by Ms. Hairston. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I would ask the Secretary to please call the roll on the motion.
Yes, sir. Mr. Williamson.
Yes.
Mr. Lumpkin.
Yes.
Mr. Corrado.
Yes.
Ms. Hairston.
Yes.
And Mr. Weckesser.
Yes.
We have 5 yeses.
Thank you. The motion having been made, seconded, and presented to the board and passed by a 5-0 margin, the motion has carried.
Action item number 3, Ricestyle Plaza campus renovations. The purpose of this procurement is for RTA to contract with qualified contractors to continue renovations at the Ricestyle Plaza campus located at 4 South Main Street. The successful contractor will provide needed renovations to areas of the building, such as improvements to the building storefront systems, sunscreens, exterior lighting, concourse rooftop, skylight window systems, interior concourse updates, and replacement of failing main lobby floor. The contractor will be responsible for all labor, materials, and require permits necessary to complete the project. The project is consistent with RTA's core values of safety and stewardship, as our commitment to maintaining our facilities in a state of good repair is demonstrated. Mr. Rosinski provided a detailed explanation at our committee's meeting, and supporting information in the package today. He's available to answer any questions the board may have at this time. Hearing none, based upon the recommendations of the committee, I move that the Board of Trustees approve a contract award to Archon Builders Incorporated for a total of $1,923,495, plus a 20% contingency of $384,699 to cover unknown items that may arise once the renovation is underway, for a total award up to $2,308,194. This procurement will be funded with up to 80% federal grant funds.
Thank you, Mr. Lumpkin. Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Vince.
Second by Mr. Corrado. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask the Secretary to call the roll on the motion. Please indicate by saying yes in the affirmative or no in the negative or abstain.
Mr. Williamson.
Yes.
Mr. Lumpkin.
Yes.
Mr. Corrado.
Yes.
Ms. Hairston.
Yes.
And Mr. Weckesser.
Yes.
We have 5 yeses.
Thank you. The motion having been properly made and seconded and placed before the board And the board having a unanimous 5-0 affirmative response, the motion carries.
Action item number 4, sale of scrap metal. Purpose of this procurement is to contract with a firm for the sale and disposal of scrap metal collected from multiple RTA functions, which generates revenue for the Greater Dayton RTA. Scrap metal consists of bare copper trolley wire, insulated dirty copper trolley wire, and miscellaneous metals such as steel, aluminum, yellow brass, and copper. This project is consistent with RTA's core value of stewardship, and we hope to improve our environment by recycling as well as generating revenue that will increase our operating funds. Ms. Joy Deloriers Davis provided the detailed explanation at our committee meeting, and the supporting information is included in today's package. Staff is available to answer any questions the board may have at this time.
Okay, a motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Second by Ms. Hairston. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask the Secretary to give the roll with the same responses as indicated in the prior motions.
Mr. Williamson,
Yes.
Mr. Lumpkin,
Yes.
Mr. Corrado,
Yes.
Ms. Hairston, and Ms. Hairston,
I'm sorry, yes.
and Mr. Wekesser.
Yes.
Thank you. We have 5 yeses.
Thank you. The motion having been properly made and seconded and presented to the board and approved by a 5-0 vote, the motion is carried and approved.
Action item number 5, alternate group medical and prescription insurance. This procurement is for alternate group medical and prescription drug coverage for our employees of RTA. RTA provides health coverage in accordance with its labor agreement and administrative employee benefit plan. Group medical and prescription drug coverage is coming before the board at this time because the current contract for fully insured group medical and prescription insurance expires December 31st, 2020. Keeping the cost of health care manageable for both RTA and its employees supports RTA's core value of stewardship. Dr. Brenda Thomas provided a detailed explanation at our committee meeting, and supporting information is included in today's board packet. Dr. Thomas is available to answer any questions the board may have at this time. Hearing none, based upon the recommendation by the committee, I move that the board approve a contract award to Medical Mutual of Ohio for fully insured medical and prescription insurance in the total estimated amount of $1,511,347 for 1 year based on the current census. This procurement will be funded with operating funds.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made, seconded by Mr. Wekesser. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will ask the Secretary to call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mr. Williamson,
Yes.
Mr. Lumpkin,
Yes.
Mr. Corrado,
Yes.
Ms. Hairston,
Yes.
and Mr. Wekesser.
Yes.
We have 5 yeses.
All right, the motion having been properly made and seconded and presented to the full board for approval, and the vote is 5-0, and the motion carries and is approved.
Action item number 6, 2021 board and committee meeting dates. As set forth within the RTA bylaws, the board of trustees meeting dates occur on the first Tuesday of each month. Finance, personnel, and planning committee meetings dates typically occur on the third Tuesday of each month. Lastly, an investment advisory committee meets quarterly on the third Thursday during the months of January, April, July, and October. On an infrequent basis, it's necessary to change the regular scheduled meeting date. Ms. Danforth presented the action item at our committee meeting, and the associated details are included in today's package, and she is available for any questions the board may have at this time. Hearing none, based upon the recommendations of the committee, I move to approve the attached 2021 board committee meeting date. the Board of Trustees reserves the option to cancel rescheduled meetings based on necessity of actions by the Board of Trustees.
I second.
Motion's been made, seconded by Ms. Hairston. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask the Secretary to call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mr. Williamson.
Yes.
Mr. Lumpkin.
Yes.
Mr. Corrado.
Yes.
Ms. Hairston.
Yes.
And Mr. Weckeser.
Yes.
We have 5 yeses.
Okay, the motion having been properly made and seconded and presented to the board for approval, and the vote being 5-0, unanimously in favor, the motion is approved. Any report, John, beyond the action items?
Yes, there's a budget update here. Budget update at the meeting, Mr. Rosinski explained that most organizations have been greatly impacted by COVID-19, and the RTA is of no exception. RTA has been dealing with an increased cost of cleaning and sanitizing of the buses and facilities, unbudgeted personnel costs of missed work, and the cost of increased community communications. Our decision early on to maintain full service and employment also came with a cost. It is highly likely that these costs will continue well into 2021. COVID-19 is not the only issue impacting RTA's budget moving forward. We began 2020 with a $2.7 million budget shortfall, $5.7 million shortfall when local depreciation is included. Dayton Public Schools canceled their agreement with RTA to provide LS service, which reduced our revenues by $2.8 million. We projected savings in 2021 of $300,000 as a result of the new fare system, and we are committed to realizing those savings. Not included in the cost of COVID-19, the 3 structural issues listed a total of $5.8 million without local depreciation, or an 8.9% of the 2020 budget. Other considerations to include the contracted 2% wage increase. Assuming 2% for all staff results in a budget increase of $770,000. We have contractual 5% increase with RTA pays towards ATU members' health insurance. We are looking at a 6.5% increase in coverage of the non-ATU staff. We have no idea how long COVID costs will continue. Fare box revenues are down about 33% as a reflect of our ridership declines, all challenging items that we need to address. On the positive side, the sales tax collection has remained strong as consumers continue to spend, although in different areas and ways. Congress provided some temporary financial support through the CARES Act. RTA is working diligently to use those funds wisely. Fuel costs also remain low. In response, Mr. Rosinski said the goal of 2021 of solving 2 of the 3 structural issues, loss of BPS revenues and savings related to new fare system, and making some inroads against the budget shortfalls that we began the year with. All RTA management team members have been challenged with focusing on our core service mission, scrutinizing what is spent, freezing openings as they arise where possible, and reducing overtime. Everyone understands that there will be pain, and the pain is being felt in most government organizations, and that most important, how we manage the pain while continuing to serve our customers and remain a relevant community asset. CARES Act funding is being used as a temporary support source to maintain current service levels during these challenging times, and not as a tool to ignore our long-term budget challenges. State funding is being used to cover the local depreciation challenges. Mr. Rosinski closed stating staff will be present in 2021 operating and capital budgets at the November committee meetings for review and discussion. We then will make any adjustments and have it on the December board meeting agenda for approval. All other financial information has been included in today's board package. And that will conclude the report, Mr. President.
Thank you, John, and thank you for filling in. We will move on to Planning Committee, and in Ms. Howard's absence, I will give the Planning Committee summary. The Finance, Personnel, and Planning Committees met for a jointly held meeting October 20, and while we do not have any action items, there are important updates to provide. At the committee meeting, Mr. Brandon Policicchio provided a summary document of recent activities in the Customer and Business Development Department. Mr. Policicchio shared a detailed presentation on the status of the TAPP pay project, outlining that due to setbacks in the development and delivery of products by RTA's Fair Payment System vendor Masabi, the go-live date to implement cashless onboard all vehicles will be changed from January 2021 to May 2021. As a result of this delay, RTA has also revised the launch of fare capping within Transit app to February 2021 and the distribution of smart cards to April 2021. In addition, Mr. Policicchio shared that to encourage early voting this past election, RTA partnered with the Dayton Unit NAACP, the League of Women Voters, and East End Community Services. Individuals who may have experienced transportation barriers to vote were provided at no charge a day pass by these partners, so they could vote early in person or drop off their absentee ballot. This partnership was in addition to continuing the RTA's Board of Trustees 2018 decision to provide free rides for all customers, both on bus routes and Connect services on all certified election days. And that concludes the report. All right. I would call for any questions for that report, but I don't have any answers. You'd have to wait till Belinda gets back, till Sharon gets back. So let's turn to the Chief Executive Officer's report. Mr. Donahue?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Just a few informational items. We continue to perform as best we can during this pandemic. We will tell you that ridership continues to slowly climb, but obviously a long way to go to get back to where we once were. And I would say right now, especially with what's happening in the environment, not just here, but nationally, we're preaching vigilance on use of PPE. That's got to be our number one priority right now, especially for our employees and our customers as well. We've been following closely the changes at the federal level, as we often do. And just a little while ago, I forwarded an email to you from the Bus Coalition. As you know, we're very active in the Bus Coalition, and I particularly am involved in leadership of that group. And apparently today they learned that the Senate Appropriations Committee in their appropriation for fiscal 2021 did a $571 million plus up for bus and bus facilities. That is incredibly significant given that typically the House has a big plus up in theirs in the last few years. Like in the current proposal, the House proposal is $499 million. The Senate rarely puts a plus up in their appropriation bill. So what this means is it'll be a pretty quick agreement probably when they get the conference committee. So that's really good news. And as you may recall, that's the funding program that disappeared under MAP 21. Since the FAST Act was passed and put into place, and with support we had in Congress, we not only reestablished the lost $500 million that came out in the MAP 21, but we've gained in almost every single year a plus up of multiple hundreds of millions. So it's helping the nation catch up on its bus replacement and facility issues. So that's good news overall. Again, we've got, you just approved our new health insurance program for the year. We were pleased that our staff was able to work to get was initially a 20% increase down to the 6% range. But as you will see in one of the new business items, our auto liability program is going to offset that to the negative by a very big margin. It is something that appears to be the result of a hardening of the insurance markets that happens once a decade or so. But we're feeling the pinch right now, and our hope is that going forward into next year, we'll be able to see that trend turn the other direction. One last item I have for you. Young man is on the call. He's one of those 937 numbers that's listed. That's all I can see on the screen because I know it's not Vince. That was the only other picture I saw. Justin Sorg is on the call. Justin is our new risk manager who started work yesterday here at RTA. And I want to tell you a little bit about him. Hopefully in the not too distant future, you'll get to meet him in person. He has a great professional experience in the area of occupational safety and health issues. He's a certified OSHA outreach trainer. He has he's held safety and regulatory positions at various organizations, including the Air Force, Morton Plant Hospital, the Schaefer Group, and Ohio Valley Surgical Hospital. He has extensive safety and risk knowledge and experience, including industrial hygiene, grant writing, EPA, OSHA, HAZMAT, HAZCOM, HAZWOPER, and apparently acronyms. That was a good one. Workers' comp, auto liability, and fleet safety. So we're looking forward to Justin getting started. I also want to add for the record that Justin is a decorated United States Air Force combat medic. He served in Iraq campaign. He received the Service Star, the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, Air Force Expeditionary Service Ribbon, Joint Service Achievement Medal for Meritorious Action in Combat, Meritorious Award Medal for Lead Medic, just to name a few. So one, Justin, we thank you for your service, certainly, and welcome aboard to RTA. And Mr. President, that's all I have to report, unless there are questions, and I will answer them.
Anyone have any questions for Mark? And Justin, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Okay, hearing no questions, I'll move on to old business. I'm going to insert in old business the item that we talked about last month, and that is that at the beginning of this meeting, I had quoted from House Bill 197, which is the temporary suspension of the Public Meetings Act in Ohio, which is set to expire at the end of this month. And Chris Conard, if you can hear me and you want to jump in, have we heard anything new from the last time you and I spoke about a week ago as to any legislation that might extend that date?
Well, there is legislation that was proposed last month. I can't remember who the author of that was. Right now, the only thing that is happening is the Ohio Municipal Attorneys Association is recommending that city councils across the state pass resolutions requesting that the virtual meeting permission be continued for the foreseeable future. That's where we are right now. As you know, from your outreach to the Attorney General's office, that there was no guidance there. I think that I'm advising all public boards that planning should be made to have the meetings virtually again. What that would mean for people who view themselves as being at risk and significant appropriate accommodations cannot be made. The reality is that under Ohio law, that a person must be physically present. And while that board member or council member could, in theory, I'll use the word participate loosely. That means be present, but they cannot vote. And that's simply the reality of where we are. Given the rising COVID numbers and given Governor DeWine's responsiveness to the whole COVID pandemic here in Ohio, I would like to think that there will be some legislation passed before December 1st, but I think contingent planning needs to be considered.
Bob, any update on that as far as arrangements from staff's end?
Yeah, I remain confident that we can set the second floor room that we're currently sitting in to handle the board members and limited staff, and we will just limit that to the capacity of the room. And we can have a guest overflow in the lobby area or in the boardroom above. So I think we can accommodate it. Once we close the concourse on December 31st, we can set that up. It's about 3 times the space of this room, and we should have plenty of social distancing down there. So December will be the only real challenge, but I think we can meet it.
Okay, that all sounds very positive. My own personal experience is because the legislature usually acts with glacial speed, there probably will be some kind of legislation that's passed, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was at 11:39 on November 30th. So I would just say stay tuned. But as Chris says, unless something else changes right now, we have to meet in person again beginning in December. So let's now move on to any questions or comments about any of that. Hearing none, let's move on to new business. And new business item number 1, the AFSCME Local 101 labor agreement. Who's handling that? Is that you, Bob?
I think Bob should handle that.
Yep, I'll take this one on. So I sent you a summary in your board packets. I'll just give you some highlights. We did start meeting in late October, and I believe we had 3 meetings, Bob. They were all very, very productive and efficient meetings. The AFSCME team, along with our team, both laid out what our goals were, and we found ways to achieve those goals for both groups, which I thought was just amazing. The big changes are we're going from a 5-grade scale to a 3-grade scale, knocking out the 2 highest grades. We are going from 8 steps down to 7, which is more in line with our ATU contract. A big plus for the employees and us, because it will help with our recruiting and hiring. We're moving towards a living wage. We're not quite there yet. But for example, the lowest starting pay previously was $10.24. That grade will now start at 13. So there's significant progress there. We did compress the steps. They're 25 cents per step now. That was part of the financial implications of raising the starting pay. We had to do some compression. The AFSCME group was accommodating and recognized our changing workforce needs due to technology, reorganizations, and different things. So we were able to negotiate certain no longer required positions or positions that are going to be technologied out of the AFSCME bargaining unit. And for example, that would be like our money room counters, accounts receivable clerk, and then some others for organizational purposes. We did respect their request to treat anybody so that no one would be harmed in this agreement. So there were 11 employees, I believe, that we grandfathered in at their current rate plus an increase, and they're named in the agreement. So as long as they remained employed, their wages will be slightly outside the new scale, so that respects their contributions to RTA. It was just a great experience for me for my first time doing this, and Bob Stevens was a really big help in coaching me along and making sure I understood the process. Something that they were very much looking forward to was a 2 to 3 year agreement, because a lot of their agreements right now are 1 year because of COVID. And we did agree to a 3-year agreement with 12-cent raises to each step in grade in the first year and 13 cents in the second year. And that equates to a little bit less than 1% per year. So it's very fiscally responsible. So I think this is a win-win for both parties. It did get ratified by the AFSCME group last week, and I believe the vote was unanimously yes. At least that's what we heard, so that's good news. So we would ask for your vote so we can sign, seal, and deliver this one.
Thank you, Bob. I will make a motion to approve and accept and approve the agreement with the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, Ohio Council 8, Local 101.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Lumpkin. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask the secretary to call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Lumpkin?
Yes.
Mr. Corrado?
Yes.
Ms. Hairston?
Yes.
And Mr. Wekesser?
Yes.
We have 5 yeses.
All right, motion having been properly made and seconded and presented to the board for review, and it having passed 5-0 unanimous vote, the motion carries and it is approved. All right, business item number 2, Marsh & McLennan Insurance Agency quotes.
Dave, I'll take
Go ahead,
this
Mark.
one. Bob gets
All
to
right.
be good cop. I get to be bad cop because I get paid later. That's it. All right, new business item number 2. Marsh & McLennan Insurance Agency has surveyed the insurance markets over the past couple of months on behalf of the Greater Dayton RTA. Unfortunately, the challenging times we are in have led to an extreme hardening of the insurance markets, and premiums are projected to increase significantly. We are working with Marsh & McLennan to identify and evaluate options to reduce the expected increase in premium costs, and are at a point where we request flexibility to continue our work to procure a cost-effective program with coverage that will best protect our agency. We will do our best to identify the best cost-saving options, and what we're asking for is the flexibility for us to continue to negotiate up until November 30th, at which time we must bind a new policy. As a reference, the current program, which expires on November 30th, carries an expected cost of $1.7 million. At the present time, we request the flexibility and propose a comprehensive program for the 2020-2021 coverage year at a cost not to exceed $2.6 million. The expected total program cost has increased in order to retain higher umbrella limits. This is actually to get them back to what our current limits are today and address the need to increase catastrophic coverage due to the new fleet and building renovations. As a positive reference, RTA's overall insurance program costs have been relatively flat for more than 10 years. As Chief Executive Officer, I recommend that the board authorize me to bind insurance coverage through Marsh & McLennan Insurance Agency for the coverage year December 1, 2020 through November 30, 2021. The coverage will be similar to prior coverage years and will not exceed $2.6 million. Once coverage has been finalized, we will fully inform the board of coverage details and final cost. This flexibility is necessary in order to bind the coverage for prior to December 1st, 2020. This expense is funded through our operating budget. And I'm just going to add a couple comments. The primary boost, significant boost in the cost is all associated with the auto liability and the excess coverage that is attached to that. We would also be moving from a $100,000 self-insured retention to $500,000 self-insured retention. And if there's the one positive note, not a lot of additional cost. Our catastrophic coverage has been increased from $25 million to $50 million per site, which means like at Longworth Street, the individual bus garages are considered individual sites. Now the deductible on that part of the policy will grow from $250,000 to $500,000, but the $50 million is really important right now when you look at, our asset list and all the new rolling stock we have, plus the building renovation. So with that, I would say that I ask for that flexibility to continue to work with Marsh. We do believe there's a potential to save some additional money, but it will require us becoming more comfortable with changes such as lowering the excess limits. So with that, I'll answer any questions and hope to hear a motion.
Mark, I do have a more of a just information, not on the requested motion itself, but when we have an accident like the one that took place up there at North Main near Needmore Road, where it's not our fault. We get, hit by another driver who is it's totally his fault, but he's uninsured or underinsured. Are we still looking then at a $500,000 deductible, or is there uninsured or underinsured coverage in addition?
Typically, no, we would not, Dave, on a case like that. In fact, the out-of-pocket for us would be the fact that it's uninsured motorists in terms of the damage to the bus, which was, as you may recall, the board, I want to say it would exceed $1 million for that, compared to number 1402. I guess that's a good question. Another reference I can give you is that in the past 7 years, we've only hit the amount that would be $500,000 in one instance.
Okay. Any other, well, before I get to that, I will make a motion that the board authorize the chief executive officer to bind insurance coverage through Marsh McLennan Insurance Agency for the coverage year beginning December 1st, 2020 and extending through November 30, 2021. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Lumpkin. Now, any further discussion, or questions, or comments? Hearing none, I'll ask the secretary to call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Lumpkin?
Yes, sorry, mute.
It's okay. Mr. Corrado?
Yes.
Ms. Hairston?
Yes.
And Mr. Weckeser?
Yes.
We have 5 yeses.
Very well. The motion having been properly made and seconded and presented to the board for review, and the vote being 5-0 unanimous, the motion carries and is approved. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. The chair was informed at 3 o'clock, the deadline for those wishing to make a public comment, that there were no persons who had signed up before 3 o'clock to make public comment. We will move on to any board member comments. I'll start with myself, and I have none. John, anything from you?
Not today.
Okay, Sharon?
Just welcoming Justin to the agency.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Vince?
Yeah, I would just like to echo what Sharon said, welcoming Justin. It's always great having somebody around that's got a great safety background like he does. So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And Tom?
Nothing new, but I would like to also welcome Justin. Congratulations, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. I will remind the board members of our future meeting dates. First of all, our jointly held committees meeting is November 17, and our next scheduled board meeting is December 1st. Anything else to come before the board for the good of the order? Hearing nothing, I will announce that this meeting is adjourned and wish you all a wonderful remainder of your afternoon and evening.